Go live, or you don't get to ask any more questions. So it's 4:55 a.m. It's pretty damn early, and I'm down in my shed. I've been up since 2 a.m. You're like, dude, that is probably not the best idea. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's costing me. It's hard on the body. It's hard on the body. So what am I doing? Well, I'm part of a program to learn what are we going to do? How are we going to deal with the crises that we are facing? Because we've got multiple problems coming down the pipe at once in medicine, but not just medicine. We've got problems everywhere. We've got AI coming. We've got a housing crisis. We've got money problems. We've got the US unable to deal with their debt ceiling. There's a question mark on the president's possible dementia. I'm like, dude, you're not as bad as my dad, but there's definitely some question marks there. Shaking hands with the thin air, it's a bit of a worry that you're leading the free world. Perhaps it's not so free anymore. Perhaps it's a little bit more difficult. And I'm facing these challenges. And I'm like, what are we meant to do here? How did it get so messed up? How did it get so fucked up? It's just like, it doesn't seem that long ago that the world was relatively sane. I grew up maybe through the 90s and it seemed okay, but the computers were a lot less. We sure as hell did not have AI with the ability to have these conversations with computers that pass the Turing test. You're not sure what the Turing test is? It's, can you tell whether it's a human or not? It was developed by Alan Turing. And we're in this world that is getting compressed and the systems and the processes are breaking down. My wife and I just got kicked out of a deal we bought 2 years ago. 2 years ago. It was meant to be 2 houses in one. It's called a dual occupancy for those of you guys in real estate. And for whatever reason, the developer started tweaking it and changing it and changing it, and it never got started. And I figure he's trying to extract more money out of the deal or something instead of just building what he sold, getting on with it. Instead, there's like 60, 65 pissed off people going, what the heck? While we are in a rental crisis. And it's funny because I had some trouble with the property investment. My wife loves it. My wife totally loves it. She's totally into it. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I went to my accountant and he's like, Tom, look, this is what the government wants you to do. They want you to pay less tax by building houses for people. And that's why they give all these tax breaks. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, that's how it works. It's like, they don't want to build all these houses. But in case you hadn't noticed, the interest rates here in Australia have been shooting up. I think we're now at 6%. And I know the baby boomers speak of the 18%. Oh, when I was growing up, it was 18%. We owned a house and it was 18%. And I'm like, yeah, like it was a lot. I remember my father having to sell his Porsche and buy a Laser. And he was driving around this Laser so that he could buy his house. We had a lovely house. It was a nice house. $300,000 to live on Windermere Road in Hamilton. And that was back, I think he bought it, 1983, $300,000. I mean, you can't buy anything. You can buy houses for $300,000, but not much. Certainly not here in Byron. Like Byron's, it's off. It's off like 20%, but I don't know. They're releasing some land up here, and it's in the swamps. They reckon they dropped in something like, I don't know, 160,000 tons of dirt into the wetlands. And it's crazy. These pieces of land are selling for $1.5 million. But what people don't know is that it's like wetlands. It's full of mosquitoes. It's really hard to go outside after sunset because there's so many mosquitoes, and yet that's the only land that's available. So we got crisis after crisis. We got problem after problem. And it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Because it doesn't seem like anyone's got great answers. Particularly for us in medicine. I tell you, I'm looking at my kids and they're like, would I recommend you do medicine? It's like, well, perhaps, but you probably should be a specialist. You know, the road to medicine, radiology, ophthalmology, anesthetics, and dermatology, I don't see two specialties in there, emergency and general practice. Why? Because they're getting punished. And maybe this budget stuff's coming, maybe the triple bulk billing thing, maybe, and I get it, it's going to make a difference, but for how long? Are we just going to buy some more time, and in 2 years' time we're facing exactly the same problems? And I hear it up here. People don't go to the doctor because they don't get any value. They're like, I went and they didn't do anything. And this value conversation about how much value I'm providing as a doctor is a really interesting one. Because we may struggle to actually provide significant amounts of value in an AI world. I was shocked. They put down the jobs second most likely to be eliminated by AI as general practice. I was like, what is this report? Is this legit? How is general practice anywhere close to getting eliminated? On one level, I get it. Why? Because I know how I think as a GP. I'm thinking algorithmically. I'm thinking about the questions that I've got to ask to go through and work out what's going on with this patient. But that is an algorithm. It's like playing Guess Who to a degree. And yes, I need to know my anatomy, my physiology, and my diseases, but all of that information has been available for a while now. Dr. Google is not new news. AI, for sure. AI is coming and AI will be integrated. But whether it will become a totally singular exercise where I'm just chatting with the AI, that might happen. And that might be our only solution for a lot of people that are not going to be able to access healthcare otherwise. And it's going to be interesting to see whether the cost of general practice and good GPs, valuable GPs, goes up because it is the only option where you can actually get a person. And talking to a real human being becomes significantly more valuable just because I'm real. It's going to be a very interesting game that we're going to see. AI is guaranteed to, in fact, I know, I was talking to software devs about a year ago, and I got into that because I'd had some problems with doing some software myself. I was like, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and we were talking about the rise of AI. This was a year ago, and they were like, the pieces already exist. They were already going to insert them into best practice so that as I consulted, it would give me good questions to ask, key examination features, key differentials, and then the management. And it was only a small leap to go from augmentation in terms of it's a helping tool to this thing can do the whole thing. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? I mean, that is the real challenge that we've got here. What is the value that I provide as a doctor? Because the AI can do a lot of the simple stuff. What can we do as doctors that's beyond the AI? Because there is something special that we do. There is a emotional resonance. There's an ability to see how the patient is responding. Are they shell-shocked? Are they crying? Are they lost? What are they going through that the AI can never do? And that requires me to be present as the doctor with my patients, listening, watching, being connected to my heart, being connected to my intuition as I go through the consultation and work out what's going on. It's going to be very hard for the AI to provide that emotional resonance. They're going to be really good at the thinking and the algorithms. but to actually sit with another human being who's listening, not just with ears, but also with heart and gut, and connecting to them. What's going on? People are in pain. People are suffering. We know this as doctors. We see it walk in. And one of the significant challenges we've got is how to deal with that continual onslaught of people's pain. Because it's not happening in the workplace. They're not sharing there. Where they do have a place where they can speak and allow that some of that pain to come out is with us. And that becomes very valuable. Maybe that was life-saving. Maybe that opportunity to speak to us as doctors saved someone's life. If they didn't speak it, then it goes inside and it eats away at them until bad decisions start to become their only decisions. I was just on a men's weekend. There was a shocking statistic. They said 6 men a day suicide. 6 men a day. And yet, not much discussion. Not much discussion about it. And that's just that inability to share and be heard. And that's part of the gift of us as doctors. And yet, it's like, oh, we're just GPs. I'm like, really? Maybe we're lifesavers. Maybe we are far more than we have given credit for. And yes, the skill sets of medicine are critical. The ability to listen, the ability to diagnose, the ability to examine. I'm not quite sure how AI is going to examine a patient. And yes, every now and then, I actually find some stuff on examination. But this doesn't mean that you can just let it go. One of the problems of telehealth is this lack of ability to examine a patient, and the skill sets go down. As a male practitioner, it's been years since I've done a pap smear. And that skill set has fallen away. I'm clumsy. If I had to do one today, I could probably do it, but I would need to go through, remind myself, and I'm still going to be very clumsy compared to someone who's been doing pap smears 3 times a day, 4 times a day. They're just smooth. That repetition, that ability to go and go and go. But the overall message is that we are coming into a world that is going through rapid, massive change. And the question is, well, how are we as doctors going to deal with that? Because at some level, we are getting a much deeper insight into what our patients are going through, what people are going through in this post-COVID world where people are still carrying major traumas from the lockdowns, from the alcoholism, from the increase in domestic violence, then coming back to a workplace that's like, well, should I work from home? Should I not work from home? Many problems in the workplaces, people quiet quitting, people going, this isn't fulfilling, what am I doing? It's like an existential crisis of the world. It's like, what the heck is going on? And we as doctors still remain in this wonderfully privileged position to be allowed in at a deeper level than most people will go to with just their friends or their workplace. And this perhaps is where we could provide significantly more value to actually have that space. It's not psychology. It is psychology, but it's not. And one of the difficulties is how quickly we go through that 15 minutes or a 30-minute appointment. It's not much. It's not much. I tell you one of the places that I've gone to, and it's a little bit out there. I was speaking to a patient, they were like, the specialist they saw was so derogatory on this. They were like, this is just straight snake oil. I'm like, oh, really? Really? Anyway, it is acupuncture. If you don't know, I'm a medical acupuncturist as well. And I got into this because I was like, whoa, there is some stuff in medicine that we are struggling with. And the ability for AI or robots to do this stuff is going to be very difficult. They may well be able to do all of the thinking way better than we can. They don't miss, the AI is not going to miss the rare disease. It's not going to miss the things, but that I can forget as a human being. You're human, I'm human. We have limitations that the computers do not. But the acupuncture is a really interesting art form. You talk about getting to know your anatomy. As I go down and I work with shiatsu, it's a Zen shiatsu form. This is a wonderful experience of being able to see how the body works. The Chinese were speaking of gross anatomical structures when they were talking about meridians. But this art form is going to be really useful in a computer-generated reality where we have so much computer. Not reality being computer-generated. It's not the fucking Matrix. But rather, we're going to have far and far more interaction with the computers. So having real contact with human beings, this is something that is close to my heart. But before any of that, looking after ourselves, dealing with the onslaught of patients, this is a real challenge. This is something that we can work on, that we need skill sets in, that we absolutely need skill sets in. And one of those critical things is actually being honest about where we are at, where I'm at, where you're at, being able to speak. Because at the end of the day of general practice, I'm just like, oh wow, I was fried. I was so cooked just from having been through so many people's problems so quickly. And you're familiar with this. You know this game. I know this game. It's hard to keep showing up day after day. And that's why we're seeing doctors work less. Go from 4 to 3 days, from 3 to 2 days. 2 days to, you know what, I'm going to go do software. I'm going to go do something else. And we're burning out the doctors, burning out the healthcare system. We've got so many challenges just in health itself. Stuff that doesn't work. Stuff that's not fit for purpose. And it's unclear whether any of these things are going to get better. There is one thing that can get better, that you have control on, and that's you. How are you showing up in this? How you look after yourself is one of the critical factors in all of this. One of the critical factors for me, how do I look after myself? Did I exercise today? Did I meditate today? Did I send messages to my kids telling them that I love them? These are all significant skill sets that keep sanity in this increasingly insane world. The pressures are real. The pressures are significant. And they're higher in medicine than perhaps many other places in our society. Why? Because we're dealing with people's problems in health, in the way that they think, in the stresses that they're under. And this has an effect on us. Looking after ourselves, looking after how we live our lives. How do we role model for our patients, for our partners, for our kids? It's a decent responsibility. It's a heavy responsibility. So the question is, where are you at? Where are you at emotionally? How are you coping with the demands of medicine right now on you? Are you loving your job? Are you hating your job? Do you dread walking in the door? Do you love walking in the door? Are you seeing too many patients? Are you not seeing enough patients? Where are you weak? Where are you strong? All of these types of questions of self-reflection are critical to us being able to operate in this world. It's not going to get easier. I wish it was, but it's probably not going to. We've got significant challenges. So I'm sent down here in my shed. It's cold, it's dark. But the question is, where are you today? Where are you today? And where do you need to be in order to cope with these challenges? All right, that's all I got for you. I hope you have an awesome day. Look forward to seeing you on another live soon. Catch you then.